What is going on, y'all, and happy holidays. Welcome to another episode of the Speak Up Sports Podcast. What's going on, fellas?
What's good, y'all?
It's good. Happy holidays for sure.
Yes, sir.
Apologies for missing last week. We had some unexpected difficulties, but lots to talk about. Lots have happened over the past couple weeks. Obviously, the Falcons got a big win on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago. We had arguably the game of the week on this past Thursday Night Football, or the game of the year on this past Thursday Night Football with the Rams going against the Seahawks. Got to see a 44-year-old grandpa, slinging around a couple times on Monday Night Football and against the Seattle Seahawks as well. Big upsets, big injuries, lots to talk about. So, I don't even know where to get started here. But over the past 2 weeks, obviously, like I said, there's a lot that's happened. What has been some of your takeaways since the last time we were all together?
For me, it would have to be, man, a slew of injuries that's been happening, man. To some good players, Michael Parsons, tearing his ACL. Even like within the games this past week, it might have been little small things here and there, but it just seemed like right at the time where everybody's trying to get right, bad stuff is just happening. So that's gonna, play out obviously in the playoffs. But like you said, Shai, some good football. I guess one of my bigger games is that Rams Seahawks game, man. What a game. What a turnaround for Sam Darnold. He had, started rocky pretty much throughout most of the game, and but his team stayed in it, and he was able to obviously ultimately come back and make a game-winning drive, and obviously the game-winning 2-point conversion. I mean, there's nothing better you can ask for. Two divisional opponents, they both fighting for obviously the 1 seed, and they had to have it, and he delivers. Hey, shout out to Sam Darnold. That was probably the biggest game out of the 2 weeks. I mean, it's still plenty of other games, but that was one of the bigger games for me. I thoroughly enjoyed that game.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you, especially on the injuries point. Like you mentioned, Michael Parsons, of course. Like we didn't get a good chance to talk about Patrick Mahomes tearing his ACL, of course. That Chiefs season being ended, and kind of like where they go from here. Travis Kelce kind of hinting a little bit at retirement. So definitely, that team would have a really new feel. Going into next season, a lot of questions got to be answered there. It's funny because like out of the 2 weeks, kind of a lot changed. Like 2 weeks ago, or I guess technically a week ago, I would have talked about how bad that Patriots loss was to the Bills, and it still was a bad loss. But then you come back on, Sunday Night Football, and you beat the Ravens, and of course, Lamar didn't play the whole game and all that, but that's still a big dub. Especially in the AFC. So they kind of bounced back from that, but I still kind of look at that Bills loss kind of like that was a bad look. That was a bad look, especially being up as much as they were. Then on the flip side, the Ravens, they come out from shutting out the Bengals, 2 Sundays ago to this past Sunday, losing to New England in that fashion. You don't really know where Lamar's health is at, per se. And then, of course, the article, which I'm sure Shai will mention or hint to a little bit today, the article that came out about Lamar and his habits during the week, his practice habits, is a lot going on in that organization. But it is good to see like it kind of ramping up, getting to this playoff time and seeing how teams are. It's a lot still on the line, whether it's seeding. It's pretty much seeding now. But as far as playoff hopes, it's been fun. It's been fun to see the Buccaneers, like you said, Shot. They lost on Thursday Night Football to the Falcons, and you come out and lose to the Panthers. You lose all these division games in a row. Terrible look for the Buccaneers in that squad. They still have a chance to win the NFC South, which is crazy at this point. But they would need some help. They would need the Panthers to lose to the Seahawks, and we'll kind of get to that when we go to our picks and stuff. But Buccaneers and Todd Bowles, that's a huge story, I think, going into this offseason, especially for a team that has won 4 division championships in a row, to kind of have the season that they're having. And it's been a lot to talk about his job security. It's pretty wild over there in Tampa Bay. But we can get to a lot more, but I'll let you go, Sean.
Yeah, and it's interesting because part of the reason that his job security has been kind of in question for him is because they didn't really go through a whole coaching process when he got hired. Obviously, it was Bruce Arians goes up to the front office, and then he was kind of handpicked to be the successor there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, especially considering if they do make a change at the coaching position, what happens with Baker? Obviously, they're in they'll be kind of getting into contract conversations if they already haven't had them. Then what do you do with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin? Those are guys that are a little older, and obviously there's been questions on if if either of the two would have returned in free agency, even though they did over the past couple seasons as well. So, I mean, just a lot of changes there in Tampa, and then Detroit as well. Like a lot of changes there. It's back-to-back losses. Tough losses against really good teams. We thought that, I'm sure everybody thought kind of going into it that Pittsburgh, that would be a place where they can go ahead and get, right the ship, especially since they hadn't been a team that's lost back-to-back games in a long time. So, a lot of questions there because how do you go back to, the former OC? Do you hire a new one? What does that look like? Obviously there was the conversation about Ragnar coming back. They said he wasn't going to come back next year, but is that something that they, maybe they have a little bit more conversations about in the off season, and really try to have try to persuade him to come back to the team. Then, what do you start to do with, there seems to be a disconnect there with David Montgomery and the team. Like, is that something where they move off of him and kind of, give the reins completely to Jahmyr Gibbs? Or is that something where, or maybe they even look to be kind of a replacement? Obviously, they've been doing kind of the two-back system since, the head coach has been there with DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams as well. So maybe they look for another back, but it's just a lot of interesting stuff there. So yeah, to your point, a lot of things have changed, and even a week ago we would have said Denver was kind of a shoo-in, to be the number one seed, and then they end up having a tough loss against Jacksonville, where Jacksonville had a lot of big plays, a lot of missed tackles in that game that kind of led to the game going the way that it is. It's just, it creates a very interesting scenario as we come down the stretch here, because Jacksonville, they have Tennessee and Indy coming up, two teams. Well, obviously we know where Tennessee is, and then Indy, we know where they are as well. And Denver still kind of has to fight for their division, having to play the Chargers again. And obviously the Chiefs, but the Chiefs down to their third quarterback because they did have another quarterback that got hurt in Gardner Minshew. But sticking on the the injury front, and then we can kind of get into the Lamar side of it, stuff like that. But in terms of Kansas City and Green Bay, since they both happened like 5 minutes apart, it felt like. What do you think respectively the two teams should do in terms of, like, should Kansas City try to hold Patrick back for the first couple weeks, or same thing with Micah? Do you think they should, because they're within a timeline where they can probably start week one if, bearing any, unforeseen incidents during recovery. But what do you guys think the team should do there?
It's tough, but I feel like they're both on the polar opposite sides. Like, I feel like as the Packers, we'll see how their season continues on and how far they go. But I feel like you can start your season off, trying to get Micah ramped up to be throughout the season, and you can still you're gonna ultimately be able to win games even without Micah. Obviously, he's a focal point of your defense, but you still got the pieces around. Kansas City, on the other hand, is like, I feel like if you don't play Patrick Mahomes within the first 3 games, it sounds like you almost punt the season, only because you don't know I don't think you're gonna be able to unless you go out here and get one of these older quarterbacks. I don't know, a Joe Flacco. I don't fucking know. But you get unless you get an actual quarterback that can be competent and actually, be able to keep the team moving while you're trying to get Patrick Mahomes better. I don't know if you can afford to not play him start next year. But that's also depending on how they go about this offseason because they have a lot of questions. In my opinion, they have way more questions on their team than Green Bay do. So they have a lot of questions they have to figure out this offseason. And I think how they approach this offseason ultimately going to determine whether they can afford to not start Patrick Mahomes if they're trying to do something next year. I feel like Green Bay they can ease Michael Parsons back. They don't have to go full fledged balls to the wall week one. I don't think they have to do that, but Kansas City they are in a tough position in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you on the overall point there for sure. I think in Micah's case it's going to be hard. This is his first kind of big injury like that. Yeah. They put a lot of investment in him, a lot of investment. So they're going to have to, I feel like slow him down because I know like Mike is probably going to be ready to go. I mean, we've seen it kind of like people. It seems like every year now people are coming back faster and faster. Like we've seen it with Stephon Diggs. I didn't think Stephon Diggs would start this season. And after tearing his ACL last season halfway through, and then he came out and he's having one of his best seasons. And then just overall how it looks, maybe not statistically, but overall how it looks. And it might just be the quarterback play. But he's having one of his best seasons that he's had in a few years. So it wouldn't be surprising to see Michael be back. But I think like you definitely are going to have to be smart about it if you're Green Bay. ACL injuries are tricky at the end of the day. Everybody's responsible and differently. We all know like Micah is a superior athlete. So I don't think he'll have too much, problem with it. But on Kansas City side, it's tough, man. Like, yeah. I know they're all saying that, Pat will be ready to go. And again, he has the long-term investment there still what, like 6 years left on his contract, 7 years, whatever it is. So he's not worried too much about that. But it does, like, you definitely don't want to waste these years of Patrick Mahomes by coming out and going, 0-3 or 0-4, whatever that looks like. And the way this team has looked to close this season, if they don't make drastic changes around that, it's going to be this is not a good team. I mean, like if we're being honest about it, and it's a lot of stuff that Patrick Mahomes has covered up, and it's a lot of other questions and concerns that we have, especially with the defense, and they definitely need edge rushers. They still got to work on the offensive line. It's just it's a lot of stuff that they have to fix there. So I think that should be the first and foremost thing to do without even worrying about Pat, because like as you see, like. You stick backup quarterbacks in there, and of course they could go get a quarterback that's better than a Minshew, or a quarterback that's better than however you say his name, a Ludicon, whatever. But it's not going to matter. So you definitely have to focus on the roster overall because it's something that they haven't truly done, and we see that now, over the past couple of off seasons.
Yeah, they've definitely struggled picking the right players and probably more importantly.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, kind of a look in the mirror thing for them. And I kind of agree, with Green Bay is Micah, you can kind of slow play, bring him in, even have him in rush only scenarios, third down and stuff like that to start the season. But Kansas City, I don't necessarily think that they have to wait, but you definitely cannot go into the season going into the season like coming with the same roster. Like there has to definitely be some changes, probably some changes within both the front office and the coaching staff, just getting new and fresh ideas in the building. And then ultimately, like, no season's really a throwaway, I guess, with Patrick Mahomes. Obviously this season went the way that it was, but they were still viable for most of the season. And even up until, they lost to Houston, just about, I won't say everybody, but a lot of people thought they were still going to be able to make the playoffs and they still would be a team that would, make some noise. So you don't want to just throw it away. But if the team is looking the same way, also got to start developing some of those receivers, and you might need to look at maybe revamping the receiver room just in general because, like we've said a couple times now, Keon Coleman is getting a lot of the headlines, but Xavier Worthy hasn't been worthy of a first round pick at this point. Rashee Rice, he came back the first game with a bang, but it's kind of been, which I thought could always be the case considering the fact that he was only good, like he wasn't like excellent his first year, and then he started off very, very good his second year, but is coming off of a major knee injury. Missing the amount of games that he missed on top of the suspension, I thought was always something that it just to act like he was just going to come in and be the savior of the offense. I always thought was a little grand there, but getting off the Kansas City and Green Bay side of things, we also didn't mention that Tua Tagovailoa has officially been benched as well.
A lot of shit happened.
It's a lot of stuff that's happened. How do you guys feel about Tua being benched ultimately for Quinn Ewers?
I mean, that just tell you that. I mean, Mike McDaniel done with it, man. He trying to see what he got with obviously Quinn as a backup, but I mean, it just go back to the question of when you paid him. Like it's kind of like one of them things where I guess they kind of felt like they were stuck in a position where they just could not pay him because they didn't have no other alternatives at the time. But I mean, we all said it. We all thought about it. Like do you really want to pay him? And it just seeming like he obviously had issues with concussions, and at this point, it seems like it's affecting him mentally as far as like being able to make plays like he were making plays. We're not saying he's the best quarterback out here, but I mean, he is for sure a shell of himself as far as his previous year's play. So I mean, that's a tough situation. I understand why they did it, and if you were to ask me right now where he's going to go, I could not tell you where he could go or what possibility does he have. But I mean, that's just a tough situation. But I mean, you got to make something happen. I mean. We've been talking about it all year about the Dolphin team. I mean, Shy, you alluded to it. You felt like Miami Dance can't be the one to go, and it doesn't look like they chose that. He's not going nowhere. So, sorry, Tua.
It's funny because like they were on a little streak for a while, and they kind of just like waited until he had his next bad game. It's funny because it definitely seems like. Well, you definitely confirmed it now that these conversations were going on since week 5, 6 that they were actually going to bench him. They went on a little run. They won like 3 out of 4 games or something like that. It looked all right. He wasn't lights out, but they were finding a way to get wins. And then what happened in that Steelers game is just. Especially when we talked about it, how they play in the cold and how they, just act like a different team, especially on the road. You saw those videos about them getting there to Pittsburgh, going straight out to the field, playing in the practicing in the snow and all this stuff. And you come out and have a performance like that, and it's just like, all right, like I got you. At that point, you're breaking glass, and you're trying to find new ways. And this was just the next thing up for Mike McDaniels. The bad part is that you go out and get 45 put on you in the next game. And it wasn't like Quinn Ewers played bad or anything like that. But like, if you look at Mike McDaniels as a whole, coaching his whole team, that's a bad look for your defense to come out and get 45 in their head. I understand it's the Bengals offense. They had the receivers back and all that, but that's the Bengals offense that was just shut out. Like, I mean, to come out and get 45 in your head like that, it was easy. It was very easy. It's a lot of questions still, I think, with that Dolphins team. Like, I don't think McDaniels get fired, but it wouldn't shock me if they come out these last couple of games and look bad. But it's a lot of questions for Tua. It's a lot of money, a lot of dead money that they'll have to take on. They want to cut him 99 million, something like that. They're not going to find a trade partner. So it's at this point, it's like, okay, you just got to eat that, kind of like how the Broncos did with Russ. And then where does Tua go from there? You're an injury risk quarterback. You probably find some options out there, but like at this point, you're still a young quarterback if you're Tua. So there's still a lot that you want to go out and get or go out and prove. And I don't know where exactly that happens. That'll definitely be a talking point if they do decide to cut him, which I think they should at this point. But yeah, it's tough. It is tough overall for that whole organization going forward because it's still a lot there.
Yeah, it's still a lot, and it's the whole situation is interesting. Obviously, Tua hasn't been playing well even over the win streak. It was kind of a lot to do with the run game and how good the run game had been. With Tua kind of filling in where he needed to, but it's just tough. It's tough. I don't necessarily, the way we talk about dead money, just as a whole, I think sometimes people get it a little bit more confused than it really is. Like and not saying you specifically or anybody here specifically, but I feel like the national media doesn't necessarily explain it correctly for everybody to understand. So if they do get rid of him, I do like his dead money. I think if they do like a after June, I think it's like 60 something mil. He's already going to be, his cap number is already 50 mil. So it's only 10 million more than what he's going to be there for, which, I mean, 10 million is definitely still something. But I do think that sometimes people think it's like, his dead cap is 60 million. That's 60 million on top of it. No, it's not that. Like he's already
accounted for.
Yeah, he's already at a certain number. Now it might just be a little bit more. So that's why.
But correct me if I'm wrong. If it's his cap number, if they trade him, his cap number can change based on how they traded. The dead cap is what doesn't change. It sticks, right?
So it just they both could change. So right now, like for example, like if he's I want to say if he's traded before June 1st, then his dead cap number would be like 99 million, which right now his cap number is at like 50 million. Okay. If he's traded post June 1st, then his dead money becomes like 60 something million.
And you're saying that if he would have stayed, it would have been 50 million. So it would have been
yeah. So it's not. It's not. That's why I say I feel like they don't explain it well because they'll be like they give you this super huge. Russell Wilson's dead cap was 100 and something million. Well, Russell Wilson was already going to be there for 60 million, so like it was only like 10 million more per year or something like that, So like, but I don't. Mike McDaniel's just doing whatever he needs to do. It's probably a little bit of a tank here because we know we need to maybe. I don't know what's next in terms of what they're going to do at quarterback. I don't think it's. I mean, I know it's not going to be Quinn Ewers. So is that a? Do they trade for somebody? I don't know if Kyler Murray is inspiring. I guess we can go ahead and get into Lamar Jackson's side of things since now he's in trade rumors and wants to play for Miami. But I don't know who else. Maybe Baker becomes available and Baker becomes kind of the hot commodity this offseason. Or maybe it's Dak Prescott, which, there's probably a lot of teams that could look to that, especially with the Cowboys having as many first-round picks over the next couple of years. Outside of that, I don't really, I don't know if Kyler Murray, like I said, I don't know if he's going, not to say that Kyler Murray is not better than Tua, because I do think he is, but just for your fan base in particular, trying to sell hope, I don't know if that comes in the form of Kyler Murray, just given the issues that Tua already has, which will be very similar to some of the issues that Kyler has. It's a very interesting situation. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the the course of the next couple months. But obviously, we got news today in a bit of a scathing article about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in terms of where they're standing, being at a crossroads. So just to give it just a story, basically, essentially, they one of the long-standing writers at the Baltimore Sun say that Lamar Jackson is essentially just a big kid. He doesn't take his recovery situation seriously. He hasn't, he's been falling asleep, I guess, in meetings, staying up late to play video games, and that's the reason that the Ravens practice in the afternoon because Lamar doesn't want to wake up. I don't know, but They've even hinted at maybe Lamar, or they should trade Lamar and not sign. Not hinted. They said he should trade Lamar and he not sign him to a contract. So a lot of people have been talking about it on kind of the national airwaves over the past couple hours as it just got released. But how do you guys feel about that article and where Lamar is?
I mean, it sounds like John Harbaugh done heard his shot beat the disc. Hey, he gotta go. But I mean, I mean that I mean it sucks because I mean it just seemed but it's coming from the organization, in my opinion, because it always seems like when you hear a little bit of whispers here and there, and it's some kind of tension between the quarterback and the head coach or whatnot, article just all of a sudden just pops out of nowhere. We ain't ever heard this shit this whole time Lamar's been there, and then all of a sudden, where they at a point of the season where they could obviously lose and be out the playoffs, and people are calling and question John Harbaugh as a coach, an article just pops out. I mean, it's kind of crazy that it happens often, but I mean, in my opinion, if it's real, I mean that's a terrible look for Lamar in general. But I mean, you can't get rid of Lamar. I'm sorry, bro. Like if you get rid of Lamar as a franchise, regardless of the coach there or not, you gonna have some serious questions on your hand the next coming year. Like everything you do at that point is gonna be up under a microscope, and you don't want that. You don't want that attention. I mean, I'm not saying you have to conform to what Lamar wants or whatnot, but as a head coach, you need to be able to fix that. That just sound like John trying to save his job. Probably not gonna save his job. But I mean that's a tough look. But I mean, I don't think they would get rid of Lamar. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like you said, Chris. When it rains, it pours. It's kind of one of those situations. This Mike Preston guy, well-respected guy, in those circles, especially in the media circles in Baltimore. So for all this to come from him, it is it's very tough. But I think this is tougher on John Harbaugh than Lamar after looking more into it. And I think this could be one of those death nails in Harbaugh this offseason. I think and I think a lot of that points to what you just said, Chris. Like you don't want to get rid of Lamar. Like I get it, but this is still this is still an multi-time MVP. Could be more than that. This is still a player that we've seen take over games. Like I understand this season has not been his greatest. He's had a lot of injuries. He's not running the ball. Like it's been a big criticism, which is one of his superpowers. Even though he's developed into this really, really good pocket passer, but it just looks different. And I think the way this article is kind of set up looks very, very bad on John Harbaugh. I understand it looks bad on Lamar, but again, we're talking about a two-time MVP that's been consistently good outside of injuries over the past 7 years. You know what I mean? So it's like when you look at what has to change at Baltimore, that's pretty much the easiest answer you have. You bring in somebody, I don't know who they can go get. We'll definitely have these conversations in a couple of weeks when we get to Black Monday. It's coming pretty fast. We'll definitely have these conversations, but I think that's what this article kind of points to more than Lamar. I don't think they trade Lamar. You could get a lot for him, for sure. And of course, like Sean mentioned earlier, that's been floated out there, trade possibilities and how much can you get for Lamar and all of that. But I don't think that happens, like you said, because I agree with you on that. I think this is really, really bad for
him. It's such an interesting. So first and foremost, the same reporter or journalist actually tried to report the exact same, almost to a T thing back in 2022. In a one of those the mailbag or one of those mailbag articles where they have fans reach out, ask questions, and they answer them. Try to peddle that the same thing, that Lamar was lazy, Lamar didn't take rehab seriously, all that back in 2022. So there seems to be a bit of a history, at least with that specific journalist and Lamar, and I guess maybe how he feels about how he handles things, whatever the case may be. I also find it a little bit interesting that in a year that it seems that Lamar is having these contract negotiations, it seems like this organization that just went through a big freak situation where their legendary kicker, Justin Tucker, was supposedly allegedly assaulting women, well over 10 women, that they stood beside him and didn't out him, but somehow they're outing Lamar Jackson, a 2-time MVP. It seems a little odd and interesting. Also, I don't know if you guys paid attention to this earlier in the season, but there was also another article about Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, that was leaked out, basically saying the team doesn't like him. So it seems a little bit interesting where those leaks could be possibly coming from. But, you know, it was a lot of things that try to allude to basically Lamar doesn't take his craft seriously. Lamar's not a guy that comes in first, stays late. Once again, I find this a little interesting and hard to believe considering he's a 2-time MVP coming off of a season where he probably should have won his third MVP, was second in MVP, that has won 70+% of his games in the regular season. I find that interesting that guy is the person that's supposed to be lazy and doesn't take it seriously. There's questions about how he goes about his injuries, whatever the case may be. And, or like he doesn't take his diet seriously. That was also something that was in the article. I seem to remember multiple off seasons where we've talked about Lamar Jackson bulked up. Isn't that an indication of how you go about working out and doing your diet? Because they say he doesn't work out either. I also remember an offseason where we talked about Lamar Jackson slimming up and losing a lot of weight. I think that might have been last offseason.
That was last offseason, yeah.
So that seems to be an indication of taking your diet and working out seriously. Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems like it to me. And then ultimately, there's this universally accepted thought about Lamar that Lamar, as Cass mentioned, has developed into a really good passer. And I say universally accepted because I thought Lamar's been an elite passer his whole career. His receivers just suck ass. But if it's universally accepted that he continues to get better as a passer, doesn't that also speak to his work ethic and not being lazy and working out and taking things seriously? I don't know. It seems very interesting to me that we don't have these conversations about every time Lamar Jackson gets nicked or whatever the case may be, we don't have these conversations about other quarterbacks, specifically another quarterback in his own division that can't beat him for whatever reason in Joe Burrow that's missed the playoffs for the past 3 years, is it? That is openly talking about hey, I could possibly retire or possibly not want to be here. We don't have those conversations about him, but Lamar, because he doesn't have an agent that's out here, it's his mom, and it's not out here putting pushing back on it. It seems a little grand that hey, he stays up till 2 a.m. to play video games. I don't know. That seems a little interesting to me. I don't know, man. I feel, all of the things that I just set aside, there is some for the fact that we're even talking about another. There has been no better quarterback in the league since Lamar's been in the league aside from Patrick Mahomes. We can make arguments for other people, but the fact of the matter is, it's not a debate. The fact is, this is the only other person that has multiple MVPs. You can't say somebody else has been better than him. I think that Josh Allen's the second best quarterback in the league. I'll say that openly. But if we want to talk facts, there has been nobody better than Lamar Jackson. Why does he get treated like a second-rate, third-rate quarterback? Same thing that I was saying about Aaron Rodgers last season and coming in I understand that people don't like Aaron Rodgers. This is also a 4-time MVP. Like, why are guys that ain't not even good getting respect that a 2-time MVP can't? It just seems very interesting to me. But, the John Harbaugh front, I mean, if we want to talk about Lamar, and like I keep saying, we keep talking about Lamar and what he does and doesn't do in the playoffs. We just saw it play out again in a game where Lamar Jackson was gone. What did I say this past offseason? The best players on the Ravens always seem to get tight. Marlon Humphrey gets cooked for a touchdown, the long touchdown in the end zone. He also got cooked on another play that ended up not being a defensive pass interference call.
Crazy.
But it should have been.
Yeah.
You have Roquan Smith running himself out of a play, so Ramondre Stevenson runs in for a touchdown. Another one of their best players. Mark Andrews lost his fucking mind. I don't know what he thought.
That boy was terrific.
He was drunk.
I don't know what he thought trying to do a lateral mid-game in like the second quarter. Zay Flowers fumbles in a clutch situation again. Like what Isaiah Likely's talking about, he said the tweet that came out about Isaiah Likely said that he was saying we are ass. He came back and said that he didn't say that, but it doesn't matter. He also had his trials and tribulations against the Bengals a couple weeks ago, where he dropped the ball running into the end zone, and then had the non-touchdown, or maybe that was against the Bengals, the non-touchdown touchdown. It like all of the best players for the Ravens seemingly come up small, but it's all about Lamar and not about the head coach. It seems very insane to me. That's just to me.
It is kind of like, I agree with what you're saying too. I am not shocked by this stuff coming out. This is one of those things where as soon as it's not good there, as soon as it's not working. So that's the thing. Like if some of the stuff in this article is true, you're getting to a point now where it's like, is this stuff worth it? Is it worth putting up with this kind of the moving the practices to the afternoon, or like anything like that? Is it worth it when you're coming out here and having the season that you're having? I'm not saying that, like, I'm not questioning Lamar's work ethic or anything like that, but this happens all the time too. I think it does happen more, more to not to this level, and not to a 2-time MVP, but this does happen where you start to question, oh, these little things as soon as shit goes wrong, and it's just what the media does. So you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt too at the same time. But I think there should be some form of change there. And I think, like I said, Harbaugh is at the crux of all of it.
I will say, if the Buffalo Bills don't win the Super Bowl this season, if they don't make it to the Super Bowl, I expect to see these type of articles come out, because I expected it. If it doesn't, I mean, I'm being dead ass serious, because at that point, I'm just saying.
And I think that hurts it too, where you're in a season where you had the opportunity. You beat Pittsburgh, you went out for the division, and you're looking as good as anybody in the playoffs from like what we expect from Buffalo, just from an experience aspect, just being in there. You have a Super Bowl winning head coach. I think that adds on to everything that's going on too, because it's like, damn, this is a blown opportunity. The Chiefs aren't in a way right now, and these are again teams at the top of this that we don't have a whole lot of faith in. We don't know what's going to happen really in the AFC playoffs at this point. Could New England go? I don't know, maybe. Could Denver? Maybe. Could the Chargers? Maybe. It's really up in the air, and I think that's what hurts the most about all of this, because like in a season where if the Ravens made the playoffs, they were the favorites going into this season, and by all of us. And if they had made the playoffs, they would still be the favorites. It don't matter if they get 7 seed, 6 seed. They probably would have been favored in whatever kind of matchup they have. So it would have been very close, if not favored, with the odds. So it's a blown opportunity. I think that's all just coming ahead.
I didn't even mention Derrick Henry's fumbles.
Yeah, man.
I don't. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe I understand Derrick Henry's getting older. I don't recall this happening in Tennessee like this, but hey, he just all of a sudden starts tightening up when it gets close.
Way too many fumbles out of him. Way too many.
I don't know, but if they enter next season with John Harbaugh, I know some.
You know some.
But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the hot seat watch. Since we mentioned the guy that should be on the hot seat, Who did you guys have the last time we were all together, and who you guys got this week and why?
Yeah, that was a long ass time ago. Who I had on the hot seat? I feel like I had the Chiefs on the hot seat. Hey, my bad. I hope I ain't called no bad juju on y'all. But this week hot seat, I got Detroit Lions. I have them, and it's not just the players, it's the coaches, it's the organization. You guys made it to the NFC Championship 2023. And you lost that game in a game that it was very competitive. Obviously, you had to lead, you lost the game. But your coach said something that at the time people were like, oh, he's being real. I just felt it was damn you shouldn't say that. And his quote was, you guys, we may never make this again. Since that time, y'all have had very heartbreaking losses every year. From last year to this year, it's been injury after injury after injury on the defensive side. You lose your two coordinators this year, and then in the midst of all that's happening, you decide to basically remove the play calling from your offensive coordinator you took over. That hasn't necessarily be quiet, sir. Anyway, that hasn't necessarily worked. And so the reason why they're on the hot seat because there is a very good chance they won't make the playoff this year. They have some soul searching to do. I know exactly what they need to do offensively, but they need to go and get a much better play caller than Dan Campbell at this point. And I wouldn't be shocked if they change up their staff all the way around, especially their just like their strength and conditioning and just the health staff or for the doctors and stuff, because like the amount of injuries they've been getting these past years have been very much ridiculous. I don't think I've ever witnessed a team have that much decimation on one side of the ball. And it's just and it has all been like just weird things, like even like Kirby Joseph, like he wasn't even on IR. He was just out for like weeks at a time. Like, and then
they just put him on IR.
Yeah, I'm like he's been out for 8 weeks. Like do y'all not know what's going on? Or y'all misdiagnosing? Like what's happening? Like I understand stuff, injuries like Brian Branch, that kind of freak stuff happened, but it's like it's been injuries like that this year where it's like, okay, you're not even putting him on IR, so y'all think he's good. He's gonna be good to go, but then this, he hasn't played, and he got on and he went off for it. So they're in one of these weird situations this year where again they're not making the playoffs, but they have some things they need to fix on that team. I mean, they have talent on that offense, even defensively. As far as the younger talent they did draft, they have talent, but I mean, it's not looking good. Dan Campbell, I mean, you came in, shaking the earth and whatnot, but you gotta come out here and produce. Now it's seeming like Ben Johnson was a mastermind of everything, and he's doing what he can do with the Bears. Detroit, I got y'all on the hot seat, man. I don't think y'all gonna make the playoffs. Obviously, it's a slim chance, but at this point, y'all need to focus on y'all future. Y'all gotta figure out some things over there. So got them on the hot seat.
Yeah, still a big game this weekend. I know, it's against Max Brosman. But
Tomorrow.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I like that. I agree with that. Detroit has, Shai mentioned it earlier, a lot of questions this offseason with this team, and that's kind of what we're looking for now. And I don't expect them to make the playoffs at this point either. A lot will have to go wrong with Green Bay. So a couple weeks ago, I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the hot seat. And since then, they've lost 2 straight. Again, like I mentioned earlier, to the Falcons and the Panthers, 2 division games. I would keep putting them on a hot seat, and they are still on a hot seat. But I already said what I got to say about them. It's just a bad look for Todd Bowles. The teammates, they've been showing arguing, on the field. You had Mike Evans being very irate on the sidelines, very irate. Video came out when he was walking to the tunnel against the Falcons, and you come out and lose a game that you really should have won against the Panthers, but that's a whole nother thing. We'll see, what Tampa Bay does. Like I said, I think, we'll get to it with our picks, but I think the Panthers will lose to Seattle this weekend. So that would put us in for a very, very important week 18 game, which I am excited about if it comes to that, for the division winner, no matter if you're fighting for 9 wins. not. But this week I got to go with the LA Rams, and I think it's the first time I've definitely haven't. I don't think anybody having on hot seat this far. Maybe earlier in the season, I can't remember, but got to put the Rams on a hot seat for this week. You have that. You lose that game to the Seahawks. Should have won that. You have had losses like that pop up more often than not over the past couple of seasons, where you've had control of the game and shit just starts going sideways. And this past game against the Seahawks, like, you knew it. Like, as soon as that punt return happened by Shaheed, it was like, oh shit, and then they come out and immediately go 3 and out, or usually 3 and out or 6 and out, whatever. But they ended up putting the ball back, and it's just like, seen this story before, seen this kind of meltdown. Not a good look, especially against that opponent with that much at stake. You still have a chance, to win that division and all of that. But then you also had the Puka factor. Puka's been in the news, and I understand he's had fantastic games. Puka has jetted up the yardage ladder. He's catching JSN now. I think he's like 60, 70 yards away from JSN now, coming off of that 200-plus yard game that he just had. But he's also popping up about, he's being a young guy. He's being a young guy in LA with running with his friends that are streamers and all of that. And that has been in the news. And Sean McVay, instead of answering questions about the game, one of the first questions he's getting after that loss to the Seahawks is about Puka and his antics, or what he's been doing throughout the past week. And you could tell that really frustrated McVay because they asked him like a couple times, kind of the same thing. You could tell after a while that kind of frustrated McVay. And you usually don't see him kind of show that in that setting. He's a very fiery guy, but not in that way. Not talking about shit that's not football. So it is interesting to see how you move forward from this. I'm not saying Puka, and of course McVay even during that expressed a lot of, kind of respect for Puka. He understands that Puka's a young player and shit's going to happen. But as long as he's coming out there and doing his job, which he definitely did in that Seahawks game, then you kind of but you got to toe that line. Like, how much are you going to, let slide just because he's producing on the field and bringing all this kind of negative energy or outside energy into your program. So you got this week, Monday night against the Falcons. Again, the Falcons aren't the best team, but they play well. We play well on primetime for the most part. But again, you still have, if by some chance, the 49ers have a tough game this week, the Seahawks may have a tough game this week with the Panthers. We'll see which Panther team kind of shows up, But the 49ers, who the 49ers? They had the Bears. If they slip up, both those teams slip up, and you have a chance to gain control back in that division, this is it. And you're playing on Monday night, so you'll kind of know exactly what you need to play for at that point. You'll see kind of results of what happened over the next 4 days. So they're in a big spot to gain, control, and I think they have to do that now and just flush all that what happened this last week and a half with the outside noise and these losses.
Okay.
We shall see.
A couple weeks ago, I had Sean McDermott on my hot seat and mentioned that obviously they had to get that win against the Patriots, and then also mentioned that they could possibly lose against the Browns, especially if they lost against the Patriots. And it was shaky in both times, but luckily you're not in the limelight right now because John Harbaugh seems dead set on being in it. But clock is still ticking for you. So this week I'm going back to the player side of things, and I'm bringing a quarterback. I'm going with Tyler Shuck. Tyler's been playing all right. Not necessarily good, not necessarily bad, but he's definitely been all right. The Saints are currently on a 3-game win streak. That could possibly be a 5-game win streak in how you ride out the season. So right now you have an opportunity. Obviously you came into the season going in a quarterback battle with, I guess, Jake Haener to an extent, and Spencer Rattler. Lost that quarterback battle, but eventually overtook Spencer Rattler throughout the season. Everybody, the Saints haven't been talked about a whole lot, but you have had some big divisional wins, and then obviously a big win against the New York Jets this past week. people have started to be like, okay, maybe this guy that we were hating on, I know he's a little older, but maybe he's all right. I'm not 100% sure about that, but you have an opportunity to prove it. You're going against the number 1 overall draft pick and a player that was drafted at your position in Cam Ward this week. And then obviously next week, as we have across the league, we have a bunch of division games in the last week of the season. And you're getting an opportunity to go into Atlanta, your biggest rival, and win that game, which will definitely, at least for the next couple months, have Saints fans riding with Tyler Shuck. They're already starting to kind of get on the Tyler Shuck train a little bit here. Pause a little bit. But you have an opportunity now to kind of prove your worth, and also possibly deter the Saints from making a draft pick with that being a quarterback next year, or even trying to get a veteran quarterback in the offseason. So, Tyler Shuck, you got 2 big games to finish your season. Can you lead this team to 5 straight wins going out in the season and maybe going into next season on a high note? Or are the Saints going to continue to have quarterback questions going into next offseason? So Tyler Shuck got you on the hot seat this week. Let's see what you do.
I love it, man. That's a great one, because if the Saints come out and win these next 2 games and get to 7 wins, you got to look at that as a successful season for Kellen Moore. And you also
already a successful season.
It already is, yes. But definitely, if you get to 7-10, and I understand, like, people have been like laughing at the New Orleans Saints. They've been a laughing stock, but they haven't been that bad, as bad as people like actually say. This is a team that people were expecting to have a top 5 pick. You get to 7-10, you're picking between 8 and 12, 13 in the draft. So you won't have that premium pick and it looks like it may only be like 2 or 3 top quarterbacks in this draft. We'll get to all that in the offseason, but you're pushing that pick later and later that could possibly replace you. You know what I mean? If you bottom out, if you end the season with 5 wins, you're picking top 5, then they might feel inclined, they're here. Let's take one of these quarterback, prospects and move forward. So it is a lot at stake, honestly, for Tyler Shuck. So I agree with this one 100%.
And on top of that, if he does pan out, that is a excellent start to your rebuild with getting Kelvin Banks in the first round, Tyler Shuck in the second, and Jonas Sanker, the safety, in the third. So it's going into the offseason on a 5-game win streak could be very important for the team. So
for sure.
And especially if the division winner's a 9-win team, and you could have possibly would have beaten both of the division winners.
You swept
either
one
of the
of
division
them.
winners. You swept one of them. Exactly. So
that's crazy. So yeah.
Get into our picks for the week. What were we looking like a couple weeks ago, as well as last week, and we'll get into this week.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's been a rough two-week stretch for both of you. So week 15, I ended up with 4, but both of you ended up with 2. Of course, the big ones there, like Chris, you picked New England to beat Buffalo. We saw that kind of.
They had it.
And they did for sure. But you ended up picking Denver. Shy picked Green Bay. We saw how that game kind of went too. But what else happened that week? Both of you picked Dallas. That was the big thing. And then Dallas kind of stuck it up, lost to Minnesota, and that kind of happened there. And then last week, rough week for all of us. I only had one right last week. Chris, you had 2. Shy, you had 1. Shy, your 1 was just Baltimore over New England, which,
I mean, New England.
Oh shit. You're right. That was my 1, actually. My 1 was New England over Baltimore. Shot, you had 0.
Yeah.
Damn.
Because Shy picked the Rams, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Detroit, Denver, and then Baltimore. Yeah. So my 1, was New England over Green Bay. Chris, your 1 was Seattle over the Rams. So
2.
What you mean?
What you mean my 1?
Your 1.
I picked the Patriots, did I not?
No.
You didn't even make a pick, nigga.
Nope. Catman.
That's crazy.
So that puts us at 48. Chris, you at 50. Shot, I'm at 48. Shot and me at 48.
Oh, pause.
Yeah.
If you look at the share, look at the last date. What is it? What does it say up on the Broncos?
You just put pass.
No, I swear, look at the December 18, 2025 at 2:26. Look at the last time something was edited. Look at the last time something. I definitely would.
Shot, what you see?
I just looked at it. It said Broncos. I looked at it after you said something. It said pass. So nah.
I swear. All right, hold on. Nah.
What you mean, man? So you would have picked the Patriots on Sunday night? That what you saying?
No, I'm about to find out when I'm about to look. I'm telling you.
What you telling me?
Let me see something. Nah, you go ahead.
Cap, man.
All right,
bro. You still in the league.
With that being said, we'll get into the first picks of the week. So it's a little bit interesting because obviously we got Thursday games, we got Saturday games, we got Sunday games, we got Monday games. But
no,
because
we not. No. What is the top date say on y'all's? Just tell me that. What does that say?
Bruh,
No. Just tell me what it say. No, Cass, tell me what it say. What does that say at the top?
December 18th.
Shared on the 18th.
Shared at December 18th, 12:26 p.m.
Shot sent that on December 18th at 7:54 in the morning. So I that was the last time something was edited. He sent it at 7:54 in the morning. Look at it. It says you sent it at 7:54 in the morning. How did that?
But it don't get shared.
The last time. No, but that's the last time somebody touched it.
No.
That's the last time somebody touched it, though.
No, that's not what that means.
It don't
yes,
become
it did.
shared.
Okay.
It don't become shared to both y'all.
No.
Yeah.
It don't become shared to both y'all.
That's really what it is, Chris. No, like no cat. That's really what it is. When both of us open it, that's when they say.
You cap. We seen it. So back to what I was saying.
These niggas funny, bro.
No, you cap. We seen it.
Look at the edits. Let me see what the edits say. What the edits at?
It don't even say no. Y'all just both made edits today, and it don't say nothing on the edits. See? I'm looking at it right now.
Bam. Nah, fuck all that. What does that say when you swipe to the left? It's gonna tell you what day somebody touched something. It's gonna tell you that. It says Shy Thursday, Cass Thursday, Chris Thursday. Like, stop it. It says it next to it. Swipe. But it says when somebody touched something.
Bro, Cash just put GG's and deleted it, and it don't have it in a activity.
Bet I just put game. Now swipe again. I bet you it's gonna tell you the time I did it. It's gonna say 6:07. I just did that. What do you mean? Stop it. It says it right there. I just typed something. I swipe, and it tells you the time frame. I touched it on Thursday.
I hear you.
I touched it on Thursday.
I hear you.
So you saw it. So you saw. I will say, then you didn't say, Chris. You didn't put no. Or you looked at
Pats didn't come up till just now. I promise you. Like no BS. I've been looking at it all week, and Pats didn't come out till just now. It might have been there. Maybe I had to swipe out of it. Maybe I had to close it out.
Hey,
I'm just saying.
Crazy. Okay,
I'm just saying.
So tell me this: why does it now say December 24th, 2025 at 6:00? Why does that?
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. What I can tell you.
So crazy.
What I can tell you.
Why does it say it now?
I hear you.
No, but I'm asking you. Why does it say?
I don't know.
Why does it
to be honest, that doesn't matter.
To
be honest, that doesn't matter to me.
It do.
The fact of the matter is,
it do because it was there.
The fact of the matter was, it wasn't there.
Crazy.
If I could screen record back 10 minutes, I'll probably put that on everything I love.
On everything I love, Chris. I always saw and I opened this like 5 times since then. And it only said Broncos. I just see Pats now. I'm just being honest. That's what I saw. But
you proving that all this time. Right. It's time stamped. It's time stamped.
I don't know.
Back to what I was saying for the third time.
Hey, crazy, bro.
Detroit versus Minnesota. Thursday game. The middle pack of the game. The only game that could. To be honest, I don't know if it's gonna be good or not. With all the quarterback injuries. Who you guys got this week and why?
I'm gonna just go ahead and roll with Detroit. Their defense is not that good, but I just don't believe in Vikings at this point. Detroit still got something to play for, like we said earlier, but I mean it's a long shot to make the playoffs, but I still think they're gonna go out swinging, so I'm gonna roll with Detroit.
Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. It's it does suck that JJ McCarthy is continuing to miss time. And these last couple of games of the season still could be valuable experience. We saw him come out and have a decent game, against Detroit last week before he got injured. But you going into year 3 and you only play 8 games. That's not, and I understand he's still really young, but that doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. If you're talking about fans, especially, the fans in Minnesota right now. But that's a whole nother conversation. I don't trust Matt Brosmer. We saw what happened when last time he played. Now, I'm not saying Detroit's defense is, world beater by any sense, but like Chris said, I can't really trust it. So I'm going to go with Detroit as well.
I'm going with Detroit. I'm not putting my money on Max Prosper.
Fair enough.
Simple and plain. Getting into the first game on Saturday night, we got Houston going to the LA Chargers. Who you guys got this week and why?
Good game. I don't like Houston's offense. I just don't like their offense. I love their defense. I just think they'll squeak out a win in this one. I think their defense will be able to get after Justin Herbert a little bit, and cause some havoc. Maybe get a turnover or two. And I'm gonna roll with Houston on this. Not that fucking confident in it, but I'm gonna roll with Houston on this one.
Huge game for seeding. Like most of these games are that we're picking, outside of, I guess, that Seattle Carolina game and the Detroit game, but huge game for seeding in this one. Both these teams have a lot to fight for. If Houston messes around and loses out, they could find themselves on the outside looking in. On the flip side, the Chargers win out, they could find themselves winning that division, which is, for a while. Houston still, Indianapolis still has life because of Houston. And, we'll kind of see what happens, with that. But this is a very tough one for me to pick. I'm going to go with Houston though on this one. I'm going to go with Houston. I'm going to trust that defense to make some plays. It didn't look good overall against the Raiders last week, offensively, like you said, Chris. But I'm gonna go with Houston to kind of pull out some tricks in this one.
I'm gonna go with the Chargers in this one. The Chargers have been on a little bit of a heater, so is Houston, obviously, over the past few weeks. But being, I guess, if you even want to call it at home, but not having to go, to Houston, I think is going to be huge for them, and then with especially on a shorter week. So I'm rocking with the Chargers in this one. I think that Justin Herbert exercises some demons from last playoffs. So. Getting into the next one that has lost a lot of luster, which a lot of these games on or Christmas as well as this weekend have. Baltimore going to Green Bay. We don't know if Lamar or we don't know if Lamar or Jordan Love will be playing this week. But who you guys got this week and why?
Yeah, that's where it becomes tough. I don't know. In my opinion, I think Lamar has a better shot at playing only because normally we don't see concussions. People who get concussions come back within a week, and obviously, this would be a short week for him to come back. So if both quarterbacks don't play, I'm gonna roll with Green Bay just because I think their defense is better than Baltimore's. I think they'll be able to, obviously make more stops than Baltimore can. But if Lamar actually does play, I'm gonna roll with the Ravens. I really don't think there's no chance Jordan Love will play. But for now, I'm gonna roll with the Packers on this one.
This is a tough one to pick too, Chris. Like you said, I'm gonna go with Green Bay as well. In this one, I think this will pretty much end the Ravens season. It will be tough. I'm gonna go Green Bay in this one. Whether it's Malik Willis or Jordan Love, I think they pull this out. I think they win this one.
I'm going to go with the Ravens in this one, regardless of if Lamar plays or not. I don't think that Malik Willis isn't going to be good enough to beat the Ravens defense, unfortunately, even with the Ravens defense looking the way that it is. And I think that if he doesn't lose his mind again, I think that they will kind of lean on Derrick Henry this week. So I'm going to go. It is going to be a cold night in Green Bay, I imagine. It's a night game, especially with being on a short week. I don't think Jordan Love practiced today, or he was limited in practice.
He was
today,
limited,
I don't think he's going to end up playing. So I'm rocking with Ravens in this one to make things somewhat interesting until Sunday when the Steelers win. But get into the next game. One of the biggest games of the week. Seattle going to Carolina. Who you guys got this week and why?
Yeah, I mean, big for both teams. Obviously, Carolina, you want to go ahead and try to knock Tampa Bay off with this one. They go get this W. Hawks have the 49ers right on your heels. So you also have obviously the Rams there too. So you want to go ahead and try to solve this one seed. You don't want to drop this game. I'm gonna roll with Seahawks. I just think they have a little bit more on their team than Carolina do. I know Carolina, they've been fighting, and I expect them to fight, but I just think Seahawks will come away with a W with this. So I'm gonna roll with the Seahawks.
I'm also gonna go with the Seahawks in this one. Carolina's having a fine season, but we'll kind of see how it ends up. But like I said earlier, I think this is shaping up to be that Week 18 game. Carolina's have to pay for a division. This is a part of that.
I'm gonna ride with Carolina in this one. I still have a lot of questions about Seattle, even though they did have a big time win on Thursday night. Leading up to the Colts game, I really was kind of like hinting at, hey, Seattle has not beaten really anybody, over the course of this season. And up until, their big comeback against the Rams, it looked very shaky against Indianapolis. And, if Daniel Jones was playing in that game, you might feel a little differently. And then against the Rams, it looked a little shaky as well until obviously they made that big of a comeback. And then, we also didn't really talk about what actually allowed them to go into overtime, which was the bogus backwards pass call that 2-point conversion.
That shit was fire.
So, I mean, they had a lot of things go their way. And I'm not saying that Carolina is a good team, but Carolina also, especially down the stretch, has seemed to at least step up to their competition. Maybe not the entirety of the game, but for most of the game. So I do think that things will get a little tight for Seattle, and Carolina has shown that when things are tight, they're able to to rise to the occasion, as well as being a cross country matchup. I'm going with the Carolina Panthers to go ahead and get this win and make for some interesting conversations about a lot of teams. But get into the next game. We got Philly going to Buffalo. Both coming off some shaky wins over this past week, and so we'll see who gets it this week. But who you guys got this week and why?
I'm rolling with Philly this week. Obviously, it's my team. I think it's gonna be a good game. Obviously, Buffalo, they still got a lot to play for. Philly kind of locked in the third seed, second seed. The 2 seed is still there, but I mean they're pretty much locked in third seed. Not saying they wouldn't take this game serious, but this is an important game in my opinion. This is a game that you need to show something. You need to continue to try to put good things on tape and head into the playoffs. So I think they will keep it rolling, and I think they get the W.
I'm gonna go with Buffalo in this one. I think it's a big game for them still, seeding wise. I think they have some life going forward, seeing how things have shaken up in the AFC conference. So I think they kind of capitalize on that and keep it rolling.
Yeah, I'm rocking with Buffalo in this one as well. The Eagles did get, they did get their running game going a little bit. I don't, that I feel like a lot of people have made have talked about the run game a lot as opposed to like talking how their offensive line has been, makeshift all season. And we even saw early on in the game, they had a couple, especially down on the goal line, they had a couple issues in terms of the protection as well as some pre-snap penalties. But I do think that we could possibly see that continue on in this game. But I just think Buffalo trying to get trying to win the division. I still think that they're a little bit desperate and they need a really good game, especially after how they had a little bit of a dud against the Browns. But I think it's going to be a good one. We got a bit of a classic last time they played a couple years ago with the Kelly Greens. So I think that one went to overtime. So I think that we'll get another good one in this one. So getting into the last game of the week, going to be an interesting one, but we got Chicago going to San Fran. Obviously, both coming off of big wins. San Fran damn near putting up 50, and Chicago having a big comeback that once again was aided by some silliness from Green Bay. But who you guys got this week and why?
Yeah, tough pick. Because like you said, they came away with almost scoring 50, but at the same time, that defense didn't look that good. I'm talking about San Francisco, that is. Shout out to Phillip Rivers dicing their ass up.
Oh man, Phil.
But I'm a roll with San Fran. I think that offense continues to keep rolling, and I think that defense do just enough stops to win the game. So I'm gonna roll with San Fran. Tough, man.
I'm gonna go with Chicago on this one. I'm not super confident. This game could go either way. It is a very important game for seeding, but it's not really that important. If you look at the overall picture of both these teams, if either of these teams lose, it's like, okay, move forward to the next kind of thing. So it is a big game though still. Sunday Night Football, Chicago's been finding a way. And I know about finding a way and not finding a way, Chris. But I'm gonna go with Chicago. They keep finding ways to win these games, and whether it doesn't look pretty all the time, but Caleb's been making some big throws. I can't knock him. Like that throw to DJ Moore, that was a dot, to end that game. And he's been doing that most of the season, half the season, pretty much at this point. It's making huge plays down the stretch of games. If they find themselves in that position again, I think he'll do it. So I'm gonna go with Chicago on this one. It'll be a big booster for them going to the playoffs for sure for that squad. A squad that Shad says not going to win another game a couple weeks ago and keep finding a way.
Keep getting lucky. But I'm going with San Fran in the blowout. Okay. Chicago is not a very good team, which is basically what Cash just told you guys. It's not a good team, but they keep finding a way. But ultimately, I don't think that the Phillip Rivers was able to take advantage of San Fran's lack of pass rush last week. I don't think that Caleb will be able to do the same. Just their passing offense has clearly been has been their weakest spot on the team. Aside, obviously, as Cass mentioned, closing some of these games out. But they had a lot of success stopping Jonathan Taylor in the run game. I think that we see a little bit of that as well with Chicago, which we'll probably see their offense look a lot like what it looked like up until overtime last week. So I'm going with San Fran in this one, and I think they win pretty convincingly because I don't think they'll be able to stop Chicago will be able to stop their offense. So we shall see. Brock Purdy, maybe sneaky MVP.
Whoa.
Sneaky MVP push. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Hey, he gets the 1 seed. We'll see.
If they get the 1 seed, then no. But it's still gonna be Matt Stafford. It's still Matt Stafford's to it.
Hey.
If he doesn't get the 1 seed, it's not a guarantee. I'll put that there right now.
Matthew Stafford better show out against the Falcons because they don't. Yeah, that MVP over.
He will.
If he don't,
he will.
We shall see. But that gives us a wrap for another episode of the Speak Up Sports Podcast. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to those who celebrate, and we will catch y'all next week.
Yes, sir. Happy holidays.